Okay, so as you can see by the title of the video, I'm talking about semen retention and why it's bad for you with no fap. You know why it's bad for you. I feel like a lot of guys have this assumption that semen retention is like a video game, and I'm gonna explain what I mean by that. Right? You got guys like you know, a lot of the you younger guys probably like 15, 16 years old. Some of you probably like 18, 19, early 20s. A lot of you younger guys, you follow guys like Von Two Cut. I think I said his name right. Who you got? Young Pharaoh. You got a lot of guys who talk about semen retention. That like YouTube is saturated with content creators who make semen retention videos. So I can't name all of them. So I'm not going to be able to name them. I'm not even going to try. But the reason I mention this is because I feel like a lot of you guys are looking at semen retention as if it's a competition, like it's a video game or something. Like, oh, I got 40-day streak, I got a 50-day streak, or this and that and the third. And this is coming from someone who personally have been doing the semen retention. As of recently, I actually started the NoFap about 45 days ago, right? And so, from my experience from doing the NoFap, like I said, over 40 days now, is that people make this assumption that it's a game. So you know, you can just NoFap and then give your score. It's not a score. The purpose of semen retention is for you to cultivate that energy and use it towards something productive. Let me elaborate, right? When you do semen retention is like the first step. That's not the end all be all. A lot of guys assume, okay, semen retention, boom, that's it. I'm a god, or that's it, every girl's gonna want me, or I don't know what's going through a lot of you guys' head thinking, okay, I did semen retention, I see girls giving me more attention. Of course, what's happening is not necessarily that you're a god now, or you just have these superpower. You know, I'm seeing people talk about super abilities and stuff. Of course, I feel like it awakens your spiritual side up more, of course. But I don't follow this thing where people are saying that it gives you some type of supernatural abilities to do crazy things. But you know, that's a whole nother topic. The reason I'm making this video is because semen retention is only step one or phase one, right? The second step is sexual transmutation. Like anything else, there's phases. Semen retention is the basics. Then there's sexual transmutation, which is using that energy towards something lucrative or productive. If you don't know what lucrative is, that's something that can make you some kind of currency. Putting that energy towards something that can actually make you money. Productive is anything that's actually, bettering your life in any kind of way, right? I feel like a lot of guys, they don't understand that. That's the one part they're not grasping. So it's like, then they're like, okay, well, I had a 45-day streak and I broke it because I had this temptation. No, what happens is, when you're into it, whether it's a 30 days, 40 days, 2 year, a year, whatever, however long you've been going, right? When you get that urge to break the semen retention, what you're supposed to do is that's when it's time to use sexual transmutation. That's when it's time to you put the energy towards something that's gonna actually benefit your life. So I'm like, it's a waste of time actually doing semen retention if you're not doing anything as far as like the self-improvement or just enhancing your life in any kind of way. If you're not doing anything as far as self-improving your life, as far as financially, physically, like since I've been on semen retention, I've been in the gym like pretty much almost every day religiously. So it's like whether you're improving your life physically or financially, or you're building better relationships with the people closest to you, or you're building a better social life, you got to be doing something to enhance your life. Because if you're not, you might as well just go back to fapping or whatever you were doing before. So it's like, unless you're doing something to enhance your life, there's no point in semen retention. You should be using that energy with sexual, transmuting that energy towards something that's a greater goal. That's what I'm saying. So as far as that goes, so now we're gonna talk about this, right? With another thing that I feel isn't being seen correctly is that people with a lot of guys make this assumption that semen retention is no sex. I don't completely agree with that. You got some content creators who might disagree with my stance on this, but I feel like sex, I don't feel like you should just cut out sex completely if you're doing semen retention. Now, I don't think you should be out here just chasing every female, but let's say if you did decide to have sex with a female that you actually have a genuine attraction for. And what I'm saying though is that if you have a connection with a female, right, it's something called edging. I didn't even know there was a phrase for it. There's something called edging, where you can have sex with a female and just don't ejaculate. technically it doesn't break your semen retention. It doesn't stop you from actually still retaining your seed, as far as that energy that you've been cultivating the entire time you've been on semen retention. So that's one thing I do suggest to someone who actually still wants to have sex while still being on semen retention, is simply don't ejaculate. I think Kevin Gates, you can actually look up as a video with Kevin Gates, he actually speaks on this as well. So yeah, you can still, from my personal opinion, like I said, you don't have to follow this if you don't want to, but my personal opinion, if you still do want to have sex, just try not to actually ejaculate when you do. So that's pretty much my conclusion to this video. What I'm basically saying is, don't make it seem like semen retention is the end all be all. That's simply phase one. A lot of guys need to understand that's simply phase one. This is not a competition. Don't be like, I'm gonna just throw my numbers out here 40, 50 days or whatever. And I didn't self-improve my life in any kind of way. Then what was the point of it? You understand what I'm saying? It's kind of like, matter of fact, I do got one more thing to say before I end this video off, right? It's kind of like this. If you're a boxer, right, and let's say you're not a professional boxer, but you're someone who took up boxing, to become a better fighter, just to defend yourself for self-defense reasons, right? So you've been practicing boxing for a while, maybe a year or two. You've been practicing for a while. When it's finally time to actually fight somebody because someone tried to assault your girl, or they're just simply trying to get aggressive with you. You might be out partying somewhere, and then someone gets aggressive with you. Now it's time to actually use your boxing skills, and you don't use them and get your ass whooped. I feel like that's the same thing with semen retention, right? When you actually come across and face the temptation, and you don't use sexual transmutation, then it's like, okay, well now it's like, okay, the streak is broke. That's when the pressure is actually on you to actually use sexual transmutation to not break the semen retention, if that makes sense. All right, so I'm gonna leave it off at that though. Make sure you click, leave a like, and subscribe.